Now, the UDM has called for an economic Indaba to address the pressing issues affecting the country. Unveiling the party's manifesto launch in Nelson Mandela Metro, party leader General Bantu Holomisa said it was time the voters kicked the ANC out of power. He said this was because it had failed to tackle corruption, address education, health, transport, infrastructure, crime and the environment. Joining us now, our reporter Lerato Thipa from Port Elizabeth. She was covering that since this morning. Hi Lerato, nice to see you again. Well, basically the UDM saying that they wanted to fill up the stadium, wanted to attract 8,000 of the party faithful. Did that happen?
They didn't fill up the stadium, Criselda, but I think it was good to note that one of the key issues as to why they launched it in Nelson Mandela Bay is that they have the UDM Mayor Mongameli Bobani, and as he was welcomed into the stadium, you could hear the huge uproar throughout the stadium. So I think a huge majority of the support system perhaps came from the Eastern Cape, not even Eastern Cape, actually from the Metro, and also you could sense that people in the surrounding towns as well came in support of this man. So a huge draw card for them, not filling up, but I would say that the reception to the party was really, really good.
Well, of course, Lerato, you know, what's been the feedback from the party faithful? Did they resonate with the messages that General Bantu Holomisa had been speaking about? Issues of corruption took centre stage, tackling unemployment. Did those messages resonate with the rank and file at the stadium?
Yes, I think the majority of people related to his speech, especially when he talked of unemployment. I think what people liked most about his speech was that he provided practical solutions on how to deal with unemployment. He mentioned that a huge number of people have matric certificates, have university qualifications, but don't have the skills. So he was saying that in order to create this entrepreneurship spirit we're trying to get into the country, we need to upskill those people, saying that we must focus on things such as agriculture, construction, electricity, plumbing. He even mentioned an example where he was saying that in the townships, people can gather in small communities and form small businesses where they could start picking up the waste around them. So all the young people also said that they felt like in terms of youth unemployment, he spoke to that. But I think in terms of whether he addressed the grassroots issues such as housing, such as water, we didn't get that feel. But generally people were saying that they were happy with what he had to say, but it still remains to be questioned whether he met their needs in terms of, like I was saying, the grassroots issues such as water, electricity and housing as well. But generally people were satisfied with his speech.
Just finally, Lerato, one of the key issues, of course, that we expected the UDM to focus on is the issues of corruption. Well, I'll speak to our analysts very shortly in depth on those particular issues, but that's something that featured quite prominently. We saw the issues of ESCOM. We saw issues relating to state capture. We saw issues relating to the Public Investment Corporation, which we know the UDM had been at the centre of shedding the spotlight on the acts of corruption that had been taking place at the PIC. I would actually say that the majority of his speech actually was centered on how he's going to make sure he continues to expose corruption. I think for a good 15 minutes he talked about and used constantly the name trust. He said, This election is about who do you trust most. And he was saying that you can't trust the ANC because they have shown that they are incompetent. They have shown that they cannot manage PRASA, they cannot manage ESCOM, they cannot manage the PIC. So why do you trust them when they've shown that they can't be trusted? So he was saying that in order to change the status quo, the people must vote them out. So I think the whole corruption card throughout his speech, whether he talked about it in education, whether he talked about it with the PIC, whether he talked about it in ESCOM with the power cuts of electricity, was the highlight of his speech. But also something interesting for me, Criselda, was that he came out as a man who was saying that the UDM is not coming to this election to try and win. He even made a joke and said that he would tell the president, that, you know what, give me the deputy president position, I don't mind. I'm not trying to win this election. But for me, his manifesto was someone who was trying to say that this party is establishing itself as a party that's going to be in the forefront of fighting corruption. He even said that they are looking into forming coalitions. So he's not going to this election trying to be the winning party, because I think he's well aware that there's a long way to go until he becomes that. But he was trying to find an identity that says we are going to be the party that fights for corruption. And if you want a party like that, then vote for us in the elections.
Well, thank you so much to our reporter Lerato Thipa, crossing to us live from Port Elizabeth there. She had been covering, of course, the UDM manifesto election launch since this morning. And, of course, we'll be unpacking all of that very shortly on what the UDM stance is on coalition.